3 scary true mansion horror stories. There's something about mansions grand, sprawling, empty, that both inspires awe and unsettles the soul. They're symbols of dreams realized, of ambition made real in marble and gold. But when silence replaces laughter, and secrets settle into the walls like dust, those dreams can twist into something far darker. These aren't just stories about haunted houses. They're stories about the people drawn into places that remember everything, even after the living have left. These are true mansion horror stories, but more than that, they're stories about confronting fear, choosing courage, and sometimes learning when to run. I never believed in ghosts until the day I met one in my grandmother's house. Her mansion was nestled deep in the hills of Vermont, overlooking a lake that shimmered in the sun and darkened like ink at night. My grandmother had passed a year before I visited that summer, but the house remained in the family, preserved exactly as she left it. My parents were in Europe, and I, 22, fresh out of college, thought it would be the perfect retreat. A place to reset, reflect, write. From the moment I stepped inside, the air felt thick. Not oppressive exactly, but purposeful, like the house was aware of my presence. Every floorboard I stepped on seemed to exhale. Every door closed with a sense of finality. I told myself it was age this house had been standing for over a century, but late that first night, I heard someone humming in the hallway. It was soft, delicate, a woman's voice, rising and falling with an old lullaby. When I opened my door, no one was there. I checked the windows, locked. I checked the guest rooms, empty. Still, the humming continued for a few more minutes, drifting in and out like a dream. The next day, I walked through the house trying to shake it off. The library was the one room I hadn't explored. It was the size of a tennis court, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, stained glass windows, and an old writing desk my grandmother adored. When I opened one of the drawers, I found a stack of letters, written in her elegant script. They were addressed to a woman named Eleanor. But here's the thing. No one in our family knew anyone named Eleanor. The letters weren't friendly. They were apologies. Apologies for things she never spoke about. I didn't mean to leave you there. One line read, "You were so small and the lake so cold." I didn't sleep that night. The humming returned closer, louder. I turned on every light in the house, paced through every room, and still couldn't find a source. I decided to leave in the morning, but before I could, I found something that changed everything. Downstairs, beneath the staircase, was a trap door I had never noticed. It led to a root cellar, damp, musty, nearly pitch black. As my flashlight flickered, I saw the outline of a child's shoes, perfectly preserved. Beside them was a locket. Inside was a photograph of a little girl, and scrawled on the back, Eleanor, 1917. I called my mother in tears. She paused, then whispered something I'll never forget. Grandma had a sister who drowned in the lake when she was 7. Her name was Eleanor. I left that day. I haven't been back, but every so often, when I pass by still water or hear a lullaby on the breeze, I think of her. I wonder if she's still waiting in that house, or if, maybe, she just wanted to be remembered. The second story takes place in the heart of Georgia, where the moss hangs low and the past is never too far away. Aaron was a contractor by trade, mid-30s, sharp as a tack, with a gift for restoring old Southern homes. When he got the job to renovate the Belgrave estate, he was thrilled. It was a once glorious plantation home, 4 stories tall, wrapped in porches and whispers of old money. The owner, a distant descendant of the original family, wanted it modernized, but tasteful. Aaron assembled his crew, packed his gear, and drove out to the estate. The first 2 weeks went smoothly, standard structural reinforcement, replacing rotten beams, sanding floors. But then strange things started happening. His tools went missing, always just one, always the one he needed. Hammer, level, crowbar. One morning, he found every light bulb unscrewed. Another day, a paint bucket had been tipped over across the living room floor, spelling something. The paint wasn't dry enough to make out the full word. It looked like go. Aaron laughed it off. Probably a prank by one of his guys. But when he brought it up, they all looked shaken. One of the younger workers, Julio, refused to come back after dusk. Said he heard crying in the attic. Another quit on the spot after seeing someone watching him from the upper windows, even though the whole floor was under construction and unsafe to access. Aaron decided to spend a night there alone to prove it was all in their heads. He set up a cot in the front parlor and brought a 6-pack and a flashlight. Midnight came. The house groaned. Then the lights flickered. He swore he saw movement upstairs. A shadow. So he went to check. The 3rd floor was empty, just plastic tarps and bare walls. But in the master bedroom, he found a rocking chair, one he didn't remember being there before, gently moving. On the floor, an open book, the yellow wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. He picked it up, and a woman's voice whispered behind him, "He built this house for me, but it became my prison." He turned. No one, terrified but stubborn. Aaron stayed. He started researching the estate's history and uncovered something chilling. The original Belgrave patriarch had built the house in 1835 for his wife, Celeste. She was a painter, a recluse, and she reportedly suffered from depression. The rumors said she died by suicide in the house, jumped from the widow's walk, after being locked in her room for weeks. Aaron found her old studio sealed behind a plaster wall in what had become a walk-in closet. Inside were her paintings, dozens of them, all of the same woman screaming, her face warped, her mouth open in eternal terror. He closed the project early, told the owner it was unsafe, which wasn't a lie. That house was filled with echoes of pain, of repression, of a woman's voice finally breaking through time. Aaron never returned to residential restoration again. He now builds homes from the ground up. Clean starts, he says, but even now, he swears he sometimes smells turpentine and hears a chair rocking in an empty room. The 3rd story happened to my cousin, Tara, last year in Montana. She's a photographer, adventurous, soulful, endlessly curious. She had been hired to shoot a private wedding on a remote estate up in the mountains, a 3-day event filled with laughter, campfires, and love stories. The couple had rented out a massive lodge-style mansion, built decades ago by a tech billionaire who disappeared mysteriously in 2004. The first day was breathtaking. Wildflower meadows, pine forests, sunrise coffee on a veranda that seemed to hang over the valley. The kind of place that made you believe in beauty again. The wedding itself was flawless. Tara captured it all: sunlight in veils, teary-eyed vows, candlelit toasts. But that night, when the guests had gone to bed and she stayed behind to back up files, she noticed something off. In her photos, behind the bride in one shot, was a man standing in the shadows of the trees. Not a guest, not a staff member. A man in a suit, expressionless. Watching, she zoomed in. The pixels blurred, but his eyes seemed wrong, like they were too wide, too still. Tara went outside, checked the perimeter, thinking maybe someone had wandered onto the property. She saw nothing. But when she came back in, her camera had been moved. On the screen was a new photo, one she hadn't taken. It was of her, from behind, looking out the window. Shaking, she called the groom. He came down and said he'd checked the security cameras in the morning. They chalked it up to a tech glitch, maybe a partygoer messing around. The next day, as they were cleaning up, one of the housekeepers screamed. In the wine cellar, all the bottles had been arranged into letters, an old trick, maybe a prank. But it spelled out, "Don't let her leave." That night, Tara locked her door. She didn't sleep. At 3:09 a.m., her phone rang. No caller ID. When she picked up, there was only breathing. Then a voice, slow and low. "She belongs to the house. Tara fled before sunrise. Left her gear, her clothes, everything. Just got in her rental and drove down the mountain, shaking the whole way." The couple later told her they found every single photo she had taken had been corrupted except one. The one of the man in the woods. They sent it to police. No one could identify him. But one officer said it resembled someone he had seen before. The missing tech billionaire. The man who built the house. Who, according to legend, had gone insane living there alone. Some said he believed the house had a soul. Others said he merged with it. Tara doesn't do weddings anymore. She shoots landscapes now wide, open spaces. Places that breathe, she says. These stories aren't about monsters hiding under beds or jump scares in the dark. They're about the things we carry, the regrets, the tragedies, the untold truths we bury in beautiful places. They remind us that some houses remember, that architecture holds memory like paper holds ink, but they also remind us that even in fear, we choose what to do next, whether we run, whether we listen, whether we dare to open doors and face what lies beyond. Because sometimes the scariest part of a haunted house is realizing that something inside it sees you too.